September 25, 2017. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as distributed by our city clerk, Carla Geyer?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Council discussion? All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Those with no becomes our agenda for the evening. This time I'll entertain any comments by the public on any items that are not on tonight's agenda. Hearing none, we move to study session calendar item number 1, which is our Golf Commission update. I'm going to lean on Tab Ray to make the fine introductions of this commission's report.
I'd like to introduce Dave Clamfith. He's the chair of the Golf Commission. He's been chair for many, many years, and he's going to present a short presentation.
Thanks, Tab. I want to just take a few minutes and share with you some of the things that have gone on this year with the Golf Commission, and particularly at the golf course, some of the things that we have accomplished and some of the challenges that we face going forward, and hopefully give you a little better understanding of where we're at. I'm going to start and just give you an overview of how we're configured. We have monthly meetings the second Tuesday of each month. However, we don't meet just for the sake of meeting. If we don't have anything worth talking about on the agenda, then we cancel the meeting. It doesn't make sense to have people running all over to get here if we're not going to really accomplish anything. We meet at noon up at the country club.
Dave, you can always carry this. I'm talking from the front here. Dave, back, here. You can pick up the mic. It'll go with you
okay.
When you roam. When you roam, they won't hear you at home.
All right. Otherwise, I think I can talk loud enough that
Oh,
you
yeah.
can hear. The members of our Golf Commission are as follows. I am the chairman, and Brent Jones here is vice chairman, Brad Gade, Sharon Abram, Sally Thorson, and Wes Gade is our council liaison. Since we're under the auspices of the Leisure Service Department, I thought it'd be interesting to just lay out the mission statements and what we try to follow when we're making our decisions. So start with the Leisure Service Department, and their mission statement is they believe that making the good life better is the driving force behind that by providing safe, modern, and well-maintained, and I can't read that very well, but aesthetically pleasing environment for the city and the residents here. We build our mission statement off of that, and because we have a unique symbiotic relationship with the Waverly Country Club, we put together a mission statement, and we included them when we put it together, so that what we came out with should really define what we're trying to do, not only with the golf course itself, but also with the country club and our relationship. And that mission statement reads that the Waverly Golf Course and Country Club commits to providing scenic golf and social experiences, of exceptional value, embracing the historic past and the progressive future of the Greater Cedar Valley. And we did that because we talked long and hard about with the wording on that, and we did spend a lot of time. We had a facilitator help us, and it really worked out well for us. And in order to make that work, we have certain values that we really work hard on. Number one is excellence. We've got to always be better than the next course down the road. We want to be on the top of the game. We want to have everyone on board and everybody striving for excellence. Welcoming customer service is absolutely critical. You know, we depend on the public, and when you walk in the door at the pro shop, if you're not treated with respect and courtesy, then same thing on the course, then we are not living up to what our value is. Teamwork, I can't say enough about teamwork. Given the organization that we got, that we have to work with, our team members have to really work together. The pro shop group, the maintenance and grounds group, they have to be in sync on everything. We work then with the country club so that we're all on the same boat, on the same sheet of paper, and make sure that we provide the right experience. We're always looking for diverse opportunities. Are there ways or things that we can do to make the golf course even better than it is and attract more play? And then finally, we want to make sure that anybody that comes here has a memorable experience. And again, that ties into the importance of working closely with the country club folks. I really can't read this one, I'll tell you that right now. But basically, the powers and duties of our commission is advisory. We are not decision makers. We are advisory group. We put together, the staff puts together a budget. We go over that. We fine tune it. We make recommendations to the council on an annual fiscal budget. We make recommendations on ongoing needs for capital equipment or capital improvements. We make the recommendations for the annual fees and so forth. So I think that it gives you an idea, and we certainly understand our role and understand that it is advisory, but please rest assured that when we come to you with a recommendation, it was a lot of work went into that recommendation. We don't try to run off the cuff. Some of the accomplishments that were completed and we have taken care of this year, and I'll show you some pictures and speak to them. We finished up the pond projects, ash tree removal and replacement, landscaped flagpole area, and youth golf progress. Here's a before and after picture of the number one pond, and anyone who plays out there knows that those ponds were badly silted in and were getting to look really rough, and we needed to do something to spruce those up and make sure that we have the kind of facility that we want. This is number 7, and again you can see how silted in it was before in the before picture. And again, the same thing for the pond at number 13 and 17. There's a look at the new landscape flag area. I think it turned out really well. I think the guys did a great job of putting that together. And youth golf is really important to us because if we're going to get new golfers, that's where it's going to have to come from. And the golf number of people playing golf and the number of rounds of golf in the country is going down, not up. So Jordan partnered with the Prairie Links course and get a place to hold the meetings and the play. Had 2 beginner sessions, 1 advanced session. And the goal in the advanced session was we want to find the next state champion. So we want to keep pushing for that. We had 55 participants, and it went for 8 weeks. Got a picture of some of the kids that were out there. And if you'll notice in the larger picture, I talked about teamwork before. You'll see in the center there Scott Thorson. And Scott joined with Jordan to go out and run this camp. And again, it's just they work so good together, and the partnership and the teamwork just really pays off. I mentioned that, I want to mention that there are some articles that just came out and citing some of the charitable contributions that are derived from golf events. And just for a matter of information, golf contributes about $3.9 billion annually to charity. And that's with over 12,500 golf facilities hosting fundraising events. The golf courses hosted 143,000 charitable events last year, drawing 12 million participants and raising an average of $26,400 per function. A total of donations account for about 1% of all of U.S. charitable giving. So not only is the golf course out here to provide quality of life experiences for everyone who wants to play golf, it also does a lot of work or provides a great venue for charitable fundraising. And just some of the events that we held this past year: the Veterans Appreciation, Dave Fink Memorial, Valley Lutheran Golf Outing, Wartburg Wrestling and Homecoming, the Chamber outing, and of course the Chamber rotates that every other year with Prairie Links and the municipal course, Exchange Club, Pink Ribbon, Boosters Club, Peace Officers, and a lot of small business outings. Some of the challenges that we face, and you'll probably be hearing some of these in the future, near future, we don't have any golf practice range. And that's probably one of probably the most mentioned comment we get from outsiders when they come in and play, that there's no place they can go and hit a bucket of balls before they start playing golf. If it's an outing or whatever it is, tournament, whatever. So that's going to be something that we'll look at coming up. We need to be updating the irrigation system. That system was put in a long time ago, and the controls are certainly not state-of-the-art controls for today's operation. So that's going to be a challenge that we'll have to address. As I mentioned with youth golf, if we don't get these young kids interested, we're going to lose our target playing group. Overall, aging of the golfing public, it's getting, the older people are still playing, but they're dying off, and we're not getting the younger people coming in. And it's really tough getting young families. I mean, you just don't, when my kids were growing up, we were on the golf course 2 or 3 times a week, but they didn't have the same opportunities, I guess, outside of golf that the kids do today. So it's an issue. The future, that's always a challenge. We never know what's going to happen, so it always makes it a challenge, but that's what keeps us going. And then finding qualified and reliable seasonal help is always an issue. So that is a quick recap of some of the things that we've done that we have accomplished this last year. I would like to take the time and thank you folks. It's certainly, we appreciate the dedication and support that the council gives us. We work really hard to keep the facilities up, and I hope that you come out and take a look at them and enjoy them. And we hope to continue to improve the golf course and provide great quality of life for the citizens of Waverly, and both today and in the future. So I do have one more thing I want to say that's not on the prompter here. I talked earlier about teamwork, and I got to tell you that I think we have one of the best staff groups out there now that we've ever had on the golf course. Eric and Dennis and Jordan are always looking for ways to improve things, make them better, save some money. They never come to a commission meeting where we have issues to discuss without having thought through it and come with suggestions on how we can address it. They are problem solvers. They do a great job, and I would like to thank them, and also to Scott Thorson, because he does a great job of supporting us and liaison with the country club. So those folks are just doing a great job. And with that, if you have any questions, I'm sure Tab can answer them.
Council.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. I know at one point foot golf was kind of talked about, and did we even pilot that to see if there was interest?
We did. It didn't really catch on. We're still going to continue to try it. We've got the equipment purchased and everything, so we're going to try to keep that going again next year.
So Tab, currently what is the ratio of golfers from Waverly versus those who come in from the outside? Are there many who come from other communities?
I don't know that. That's a good question. I'll find that out. We should be able to do something with that. Commissioner Jones wanted me to mention that we've taken lots of trees out of the golf course. We've planted more trees than we've taken out, so he wanted to make sure that we knew that. Is that right? Okay, good.
Just a comment that the golf course is such an asset to the community. It's kind of when we show the town and bring guests from out of town and do family get-togethers in the whole town. We're always going by that wonderful golf course, and it has a certain beauty and charm, and so we want everyone to know that all that work to keep up the golf course is not only for the people who golf, but for everyone who supports golfing and cheers on our young people and just enjoys the great look that comes with the golf course.
Thank you.
I would say my son was one of the kids that was part of the youth program, and
Was this picture in the
one of them?
okay,
yeah.
good.
But he's 12, but he had a lot of feedback. He said it was very well done, and got to look at, you talked about the golf pros and how neat they were, and they're doing trick shots and all kinds of neat stuff to get them engaged, and but it was very well done. He enjoyed it and learned a lot. So, as a result, I've golfed more this year than I have probably the last 10. So, just
Good.
with family and stuff, I'm starting to be able to get out now. So,
Good.
yeah, it's fun. I've lost more balls than I have in the last 10 years too. But
I know 2 golf pros personally, and that hasn't helped my game at all.
so, yeah, I appreciate that. Golf course is always beautiful. This has been a rough year for grass to grow, I'm sure, and it's always beautiful out there. So I appreciate that. Appreciate all the work you guys do.
Thank you, thank you. Study session item number 2 is the Municipal Housing Commission update.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Loss. I'm the director at Waverly Low Rent Housing, representing my board of commissioners this evening. Basically, we continue to do what we've been doing for over 40 years, which is provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing for our residents. It's been our main mission, and it continues to be our mission. We've got 100 apartments. Some of them are 46 years old. One of them is 36 years old. So there's always maintenance issues that we deal with. We haven't had any really big projects this year. We completed a combination of efficiencies where we took 2 efficiencies and made them into a large apartment for a couple. So that's the 12th one we have now, because it's hard to rent an efficiency type apartment. So Our big project right now is just putting in a fence on the east side of the manor, which is the 3-story building. There was several dead evergreens there that we felt needed to be taken out. They were just a collection place for varmints and stuff. And of course, it helped when we took them out to find the fire hydrant that was back there. I haven't called the city to find out when's the last time they tested that fire hydrant because it's the main one for Crystal and for the Waverly Manor. So we were glad to see that was there, and we're in the process of putting in a nice fence for just to kind of screen off some of Crystal's stuff sitting around. So it's my understanding they're going to maybe move their road a little bit and everything. So hopefully they will clean up some of their stuff sitting around. We are moving ahead with the planning process for our property that's at 420 16th Street Northwest. It's the big white house currently used by the veterans, LZ Phoenix, Rally Point. They are in the process of finding a different housing with, I'm part of that board, so we have our challenges there too. We have asked them, or the board has asked them by the end of February 2018 to be out of the house, though, so that we can progress with what we want to do. Currently, we know that we have to rezone that property. It's about a half an acre. It's zoned R3 right now. It'll have to be zoned R4. Bill has been very helpful coming to our meetings and guiding us through some of what we have to do with the city. We obviously will work closely with the city to make this all work like it's supposed to work. I'm in the process of putting together requests for proposal to go out to several architectural firms to see what they propose to put on that property, anywhere from 6 to 18 units. We're looking to go after the people that still meet the income requirements set by the federal government, but they don't need subsidy. It means that median income in Braemar County is very high. So we can have people that meet the median income that make over $40,000 a year, but they don't need government subsidy. And technically, they're not supposed to be living on our property. So, but there's not exactly another place for them to go, especially on the elderly. We're definitely going to stick with the elderly side of it. So, we're still planning. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do, and hopefully we'll be taking down the big white house and opening up for people to take whatever they want before we start tearing it down. And they didn't let it burn the other night when the fish tank started on fire. So we'll address that at a later date. We currently still have a waiting list. 11 of them are seniors, which is considered 62 or older. The rest of them would be younger than that, many of them handicapped disabled, which we just don't have room for right now. But with the possibility of a new building, we might be able to move some of our higher income residents out of where they're living now and move some of the handicapped disabled into the older apartments. So, any questions?
Any questions of Rebecca? Obviously, one of the huge needs of our community is to have a balanced community. We need people who have lesser means, and we need housing that they can stay in our community and keep us whole and keep us well. They're a very important segment of our community, and you serve them well. It's nice to see a waiting list, and the quality of your apartments pretty high.
Well, we we, meaning the board, has worked very hard over the years to maintain those buildings. Most people don't realize they're as old as they are. And we like residents to come in and stay with us until they either have to go for further assistance in a nursing home or they pass away. We have some that have lived with us for over 20 years. So I think my oldest right now is 98. He still lives independently, so we're always glad to see him.
Other questions from the council?
Just an expression of gratitude. Thank you for your work.
Oh, you're welcome.
Concerning the waiting list, is there a typical length of time a person might expect to have to wait?
Well, that's always hard because we're elderly housing, so it can change tomorrow, you know, but we have gone through years where we've had 18, 20 apartments open up, and we've gone through years where we only had 5 apartments open up. So I will say that the residents that are moving in now are older because they're able to stay in their homes longer. There's a lot of good things that go around with the Braemar County provides a lot of good services to help these people stay in their homes longer. So when they reach the point that they don't want to mow lawn anymore, they don't want to shovel snow anymore, then they come looking for us.
Questions? Thank you for your great work.
Thank you.
Study session number 3 is our Champions Ridge update.
Good evening. My name's Fred Ribich. I've been with the Champions Ridge project now for, I'm losing track of time, 9 years, I do believe. And I'm a new resident of Eisenach Village here in Waverly. We want to take most of the time this evening in terms of an update, talking about our fundraising efforts. And so Terry and Tony Henricks are here, and I'll introduce them in a minute. And Terry will walk you through that a little bit. I did want to mention a couple of other things beyond the fundraising efforts we've been making over the last several months about some other activities that have taken up our time and energy. One of them has to do with our design and engineering firm, Confluence, out of Cedar Rapids. When the city gratefully approved the purchase of the northern parcel of the Neil Smith land for this project, we knew that that was going to have some impact on their preparation of construction documents for the site. And in particular, there was a clear potential of some savings in terms of being able to work with the full 140 acres, I think it is. And in addition to that, we had also identified with the help of City Public Works where the sanitary sewer outlet would need to go. So long and the short of that is that Confluence needed to kind of go back to the drawing board with some of their stuff. There were also some changes in terms of groundwater detention that they had to build into the site. So we ended up having to negotiate an addendum to our contract with them in terms of addressing some of these issues that arose because we now had the full site to work with. So they are intending to get us construction documents by early October so that we will be in a position to show those to some potential contractors. And in negotiating that addendum, we also had to negotiate cost. And we ended up at having to spend about an additional $30,000 for the work that needed to be done. So we've got a little over $100,000 invested in the design, construction, engineering efforts that are necessary to move the project forward. The other thing that came up fairly recently is I was contacted by a gal by the name of Rebecca Ortman, and she is with the DNR's source water protection program and oversees our area. And essentially, she's been working with city staff as well on particularly protecting the source water for Well 8, which is kind of in the northeast corner of the Champions Ridge site behind CUNA. And we've had two conversations already about what it is that Champions Ridge might be able to do in terms of developing that site that would eliminate or certainly minimize any potential contamination to the source water feeding into well number 8. And that conversation has expanded quite a bit. We talked a lot about different types of plantings, obviously, but at the last meeting, there was some conversation about Champions Ridge doing some innovative things with respect to protecting groundwater, bioreactors, bioswells, rain gardens, and a variety of other things. And then there's a DNR, or I'm not sure if it's DNR or a federal program that focuses on what they call urban conservation, where they have a variety of different techniques that might be appropriate and implemented out at Champions Ridge that would be also educational in nature in terms of conservation efforts. So we also were talking with those folks about the possibility that in the northwest corner there has always been a kind of a placeholder for a potential DNR education center, and then right near there a campground. And the folks that we've been in conversation with think that's a great idea. Unfortunately, at the state level, the DNR doesn't have a lot of money to work with, but there were lots of other programs, potential funding programs that were discussed along the way. And so we're going to be having another meeting to talk more specifically about some of the source water protection strategies that we might be able to build into the development of the site. There's some additional testing that the DNR is waiting to get to identify exactly what kinds of contaminants may be contributing to the source water in that area so that we know more about the nature of the problem that we're trying to address. But everybody, every program that was represented there, including Bremer County Conservation Board, the Bremer County Conservationist, who's a fairly new fellow, I can't think of his name right now, but he's very keen on the idea of having some educational facility there. And there was some casual talk about the fact that an education center there would be another way to honor Neil Smith, because everybody knew that Neil was a very strong supporter, advocate of soil and water conservation. And so they thought that it would be fitting to have something there that recognizes that aspect of Neil's contribution. So we are going to be pursuing those conversations in more detail, and we'll work also with Confluence on where they see some of these techniques potentially fitting into the layout of the site. So very optimistic about where that might take us. both in terms of the innovation involved in it and in terms of potential sources of funding to support some of those strategies. And I might mention Dan McKenzie was in the last meeting we had because we wanted also a representative from CUNA Mutual, since they are neighbors to well number 8 as well, and the source water program director wanted to be sure she knew something about what's happening on the CUNA property as well. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions regarding that. Otherwise, I'll invite Terry Hendricks up to the podium and let him fill you in on a few things.
We could maybe do all the questions at the end. It'd be nice to hear from Terry.
That would be fine.
Tony's bringing you around our capital campaign brochure that we completely redid. My name is Terry Hendricks. That's my wife, Tony. We own and operate a professional fundraising company in Nashua, Iowa called the General Development Group. We were brought into this to Champions Ridge project in January, and it's. I wish I could stand here right now and tell you we've got all the money raised, but Lord knows I know the Bremer County like the back of my hand, and I've been all over, and I've been out talking, and I've talked to hundreds, probably thousands of people. In fundraising. And I'll get to this in a little bit, it's a process. We start out with our lead gift prospects. I have approximately $1.5 million worth of lead gift asks out there right now. I have had not one single person that's a lead gift prospect say no. Every one of them thinks it's a good idea, but I have not found one or 2 or 3 or 4 or any of them to make a commitment yet. So we're working on that. It's ongoing. I think maybe it has something to do with the fact of it, maybe a little bit of the history and the time that it's taken to get to this point. So what's next? 24 years ago, I had the opportunity to actually quit my job and went to work with a guy that I had met when I was chairman of the hospital foundation, who we hired as a consultant. His name was Vern Dockery. He was my mentor. He had been in the fundraising business for over 40 years. And I worked with him for a year before I actually went on my own. But he taught me 2 things, and he told me, actually capital campaign fundraising presents its own challenges just like anything else. But he says, there's 2 things I want you to always remember. He said, first of all, I want you to remember that capital campaign fundraising is a process. It's not an event. It's not just something you show up for once. It's a process. And it's all about leverage. He said, the word leverage will be your best friend, but you got to have leverage. I know what he's talking about, and I understand, and it's part of the process. He would also tell me that you need to keep you need to keep your head on a swivel at all times. Don't let blinders get in your way. Always be open. And he gave me a plaque that I have hanging on my wall yet today, and it said, the most successful people in life are those that were the best at Plan B. Well, let me tell you, we're at Plan B right now. We're still going down the campaign process. We're in the lead gift division. I handed you a plan when I first started. This spelled out all the different divisions and how we'd work through this. But we're still in that division. But there was one thing that kept coming back and kept showing up to me that I finally decided, and we are in the process of the lead gift divisions there, and we're not going to give up on that at all. In fact, I got several prospects in Waterloo, Cedar Falls here. out in the county. But the one thing I noticed when I was going through, I didn't do the feasibility study, so I had to utilize the information that I got from the other company that did it, but I didn't have any of their results. I didn't have any of their answers. I knew what their questions were, but I didn't have all the answers. But it gave me a pretty good idea where we were. And then I went through some of the initial plans, and the one thing I kept seeing was this large number of contractors that had come forward not only to the ball side but to the fair side, and not just to say they wanted to do the work out there, but that they wanted to do the work and make their contribution in kind, and or to do a portion of it they would charge for, or do the rest of it in kind. For example, I'll give you one of the contractors had agreed to, just on the one quad that they were talking about in the initial beginning, there was a contract that agreed to build all of the dugouts for all 4 diamonds, and would basically do 75% of it as in kind, and the rest of it that he would charge for. And so I started going through that list, and then I went to the fair and went through their list, and they have a significant amount of in-kind commitments that have been made to them too. And so the agreement that we made with the city was that we need to have the money raised. I remember when Bill and I talked, he said $1 million is just kind of an arbitrary firm. You figure you got to have the money raised to start doing the excavation. And that's exactly what our bullseye has always been. And so, I want to back up just a hair here. Throughout my work and then talking to these contractors, I also, through Dave Resnichek and through a fellow employee of his down at John Deere, Dennis Bowman, met with Dennis, and Dennis had introduced to me an idea regarding the military doing the excavation work through their innovative readiness training program. And so I spent a great deal of time working on that, basically to find out that if that's the case, if they would be here, it would not be until 2019. There was no way that we could be worked into next year's budget cycle. And it's still out there, but I don't know. There was way more of a willingness for me to call them to try to arrange something than there was for those people to find something to do. And I really, after I would never hear anything, I just kind of put the file back in the drawer. But I have it there. I have the application and everything filled out. I've talked to a lady and I've got her information in Washington, D.C., but there's only one unit in Iowa now anymore that even does this kind of work. And so that was an idea. It's still out there, but I think and what we need, and Fred and our committees, I've been working with both the ball committee and the fair, is something to really light a fire underneath all the work that they've done and the work that I've done since I got here. So once the new construction documents get here, they have told us possibly, I think Fred said in early October, they said maybe October 2nd they may have them done. We are scheduling meetings with all of the excavation contractors in Bremer County. There have been several of them from outside of Bremer County that have expressed interest, and if they have employees here, we are going to invite them also. And there's a significant number. I just compiled the list last week, and I came up with 24. We're going to get together with those people, and we're going to see what they can do. And because of the nature of our project, both nonprofit organizations with 501c3s, we have the opportunity to be able to do some things for those in-kind commitments. But we have to have the construction documents first so we know what each item costs or what they project it to cost, so that we can go back and see what they would be willing to do, and then actually offered them a charitable gift deduction for the difference in maybe what their charge would be and what this would, what the cost was figured by our professional from our engineer. And so we're going to meet with the excavation contractors first. We're going to see right where we're at there. Then we're going to meet with the regular contractors, electrical, plumbing, landscaping, ready mix. I mean, you go right on down the line. And there's, again, I couldn't believe how much these people said that they would do in the beginning. And this list has grown since the first list, and I've even talked to a couple of them since I've been out and about. But we're going to put that list together and see just exactly where we're at as far as getting this project kicked off. When I said, you know, fundraising is about leverage, well, in essence, we may utilize the contractors to help leverage the interest in. And these people have been, it's the one thing I don't know that was really mentioned from the start, and I'm not blaming anybody, but this group of people stepped up to the plate before anybody did. And these people have said that there's a willingness for them to do things for their community, for the recognition, obviously, that they'll get because they'll be recognized on any donor board, but also just the big thing is the opportunity to work on it and to help develop a wonderful project. So we're going to meet with those contractors then. Not only in the next 30 days or in the next month will we get all of them on board and be able to show them where we're at and compile information that they've said that there's a willingness to do, but we also hopefully will gain basically I call it a cheerleading group of about hopefully 50 to 60 entities that will be out in the county helping sell this. It's real hard to put things into the newspaper when there's not a whole lot of things happening, but behind the scenes there's a lot of things happening. But I'm telling you tonight that I think that this is, you know, right now we may be in this first phase, but I think perhaps that we can show and use that to influence others. I was very interested to see, I'm sure as well as all of you were, I think it's fantastic that information regarding the Red Fox and the investment that these people are going to make in that entity, and I saw in their article the comment that they made regarding their redevelopment, but also the development of Champion Ridge out on the west end out there was one thing that I think maybe there was a reason, one of the reasons maybe that they looked to make a significant investment here in Waverly. And I think it was very positive, and I think, so basically what I want to say, and I'd like to say this to the public too, I, as well as other many committee members, have been approached by people over and over again. There's a lot of support out there, I know that. And they want to know, why have we not been contacted yet? Well, I tell you, you will be. You will be. Fundraising, again, is a process. There are different gift divisions you work your way through. You get through one division, you start the next division. You get that division done, you go to the next division. And it's just a way of compartmentalizing prospects so you don't get overwhelmed with the whole thing, but you just take it in steps. When I started here, when I started with these two groups, I told them this was going to be a 2-year commitment, that this was going to take at least 2 years. And just because of the size, the nature of it, and some things that I was going to have to do. But I can assure you, anybody that's out there right now that's listening to this tonight, that you will be contacted, and we will count on you for your support. I guess one of the things that a gentleman that I've talked to who we're working right now to see what kind of an arrangement we can put together, I think a lot of you in this room know Bob Hellman down in Waterloo, built our ballpark. Bob and I have met 3 different times. Their foundation is meeting this month, but Bob has expressed a significant interest in working with the ball side of the development of the ballpark on the ball side. I think that's a very significant, how it all came together. It was kind of a unique meeting. And so we look forward to see what they can do. But I guess that's kind of our plan. That is our plan. That's not kind of our plan. That is our plan. And we're going to follow the process. And we're going to utilize this to leverage and show that there are a lot of people already involved in this. Anything of this potential to this area is worth going out and working your tail off for. And one of the things that I've repeated over and over and over as I have gone out and talked and educated the public regarding Champions Ridge is the immediate impact that this is going to make. Excuse me. I found out that just from a 4-H side, 4-H enrollment and FFA in Bremer County numbers almost 600 youth. There's 400 kids involved in 4-H, and the statewide average by county is about 150. So we're almost 1.5 times the number of 4-H kids in Bremer County as there is by county statewide. But in the ball side of things, I mean, and as they've told me, they need at least 12 diamonds to do the things they want to do and need to do. There's over 1,200 youth and young adults that participate in the baseball, softball program every summer. And so with that, you've got 1,800 young people, young adults, who Champions Ridge will make an impact on right away. I handed you a brochure, or I didn't, Tony did. She handed you our brochure. Our campaign theme is the Northeast Iowa Jewel. But what we're doing is advancing Neil Smith's dream for youth and families. This is what Neil wanted to do. I remember talking to him. He told me what it was that he wanted. And I think, it's just a matter of don't put the blinders on. We're going to go to Plan B. I'm not afraid at all. But we're going to hopefully be able to come back to you and say we fulfilled our objective and we want to start next year. And so that's where we're at right now. And I'd like to thank you for letting all of us come tonight. And Fred, if you want to help answer questions, we'd like to field some questions.
Well, we thank both Fred and Terry. I think that the excitement in the community would be immense if we can keep this project moving forward. And certainly you're going to hear cheering from the city council because
Yep.
the reasons we've done so much is that we want this project to succeed.
You bet.
And so let's see, questions from the council on what you've heard?
I appreciate the work you're doing. I mean, I'm a part of, I've got kids that are both involved in baseball and softball.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at our facilities, I might have this wrong, but baseball, I think we play on one field. Yeah. Softball, we play on another field that is really not playable for kids. It's so rough. But we go to other towns many weekends because there's youth sports, then there's travel sports, which is almost kind of the same kids, but but we travel a little bit more, and we go to other communities, very small communities that have really nice facilities. So I'm looking forward to bringing all those people here. And, you talk about 1,800 kids, we're going to bring families and
Right. people
and sports and relatives, and they're going to be spending money. And, like you said, that's what's going to support Red Fox Inn and some of those new things that want to come to town. So I appreciate the efforts.
That, and thank you, that and a county campground. I mean, that couldn't be anything
I'm
better
just talking
placed
about
out
half
there.
of it.
Yeah, and this grew out of, and as fact, as Fred mentioned, recognizing Neil for his conservation work grew out of the fact that we changed the campaign theme and made it about what Neil did. I mean, we know, his family knows, I've talked to him, I mean, he could have held out for top dollar and made a whole lot more money, but that isn't what he did. And the big thing, I know this summer, we had an interesting thing happen this summer. You know, this community used to host softball tournaments all summer long. This year there was one. Towns won't come to here to play because it's dangerous out on the 3 adult diamonds. And they got in a big argument. And the argument centered over, the argument was, I can't remember what town it was, but with the people here, but the argument centered over the fact of, why don't you have these diamonds done yet? You've been talking about it for 4 years, you know, and it's not funny. It's true. But I was reminded by George Miller, who told me that back when they had the Coca-Cola Classic here, he said, who do you think paid, now correct me if I'm wrong, but this came from George. He says a significant amount of the money on Wartburg's baseball diamond for the lights came from the proceeds from the Coca-Cola Classic, $30,000 they made in that tournament. Those are things that the potential is unlimited. I don't go around and say, I know there's going to be economic potential. I'm not going to go down and inflate it and oversell it. I mean, there's going to be potential for economic benefit for many, many businesses in Waverly, Shell Rock, Bremer County. There's going to be benefit to the children, young adults that are going to be participating out there, for people that come from out of town. And just like what Fred was talking about, some of the innovative things that can go out there with, and I think, you know, the DNR, this is their idea. And I don't know, they may share part of the cost of that. They might. We're thinking, but if we can, that is exactly what Neil wanted. You couldn't have designed something better than what this is going to be. And so.
And it's probably, so I was, you know, as I look at the picture, I was talking about half of it. So you've got the fairgrounds as well.
Right.
That'll be significant, not just at fair time.
Right.
Those would be facilities that we can use in town.
Yep.
Plus the camping area. You know, we've been campers for 12 years. This is the first year we finally sold our camper that, you know, our kids have become more involved in summer sports. But quite frankly, we left town on weekends. And a lot of, you know, the friends that we camp with did as well. And this would keep people in town. And this would bring the people, instead of going to Clear Lake, you'd come here.
Right.
You know, they're probably saying, well, yeah, no kidding. But that's a significant, you know, the folks that are doing the camping are spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's significant as well. So
I bet it is.
It's also worth mentioning, maybe everybody knows this already, but during this past fair, they held the horse show event out at Champions Ridge. And that was a terrific move on the part of the fair, because there was a lot of excitement, particularly on the part of the kids that were involved in that, in meeting on that land and seeing firsthand, you know, what's going to be possible out there. And so I just have to say, as long as I've been involved in this project, there are other folks that I work with day in, day out, week in, week out on this project, who probably have been involved since about 2004. It's probably going on 13 years. And they see something in this project, I think, that is terribly important for the community to recognize, that it fills a need and it has a great deal of potential in terms of what it can do for Bremer County. So no one's giving up on this, not at all. And Terry's right, we get lots of questions about this, that, and the other thing. There's a lot of misunderstanding out in the public about, you know, how this is all working. And we do our best to make sure accurate information is available to those folks. So we appreciate the support that the city and city council over the years has shown the Champions Ridge project. And we will make you proud soon.
Other questions from the council?
I'd just like to echo that. I mean, I can remember back to the first meeting that the council put together, the group that did this. And I look at who's involved in it now, and I think there's at least 3 or 4 that have stuck with it that long with all the bumps and the hurdles, those type of things. So it is a project that needs to be done. There's so much benefit to the youth, to the community, those type of things. And I guess I'm on the opposite end of the camping spectrum. We've kind of gotten back into it the last couple of years. And I'm consistently surprised at the campgrounds we go to are city-owned campgrounds. So I think we may want to add that to our strategic planning. Is there an opportunity for the city to be a partner in this and get the campground up and running sooner than later, and just another source of income, those type of things, because there are a lot of nice city campgrounds out there that add a lot of value to the community.
No. Tony and I, of course, live in Nashua. That's probably one of the biggest assets we have. Of course, the lake too, but it's wonderful. I have to share something with you that's humorous. I'm working at the fair. You talk about, how neat this will be out here, but how some people, I don't know, they've been looking over there, they look and they see something, and this well that sits up there on that hill. I had a guy stop me out there, and he says, "Hey, I know we have an airport outside of town, but I said that now, what are you going to do about that airport that's there where you're going to build the new fairgrounds?" I said, "What airport?" Well, he goes, "I see that airplane or that terminal up there on top of the hill, that brick, which isn't that brick building, your well building." He thought it was, this whole time he's been around, he was an older gentleman, but he thought that was a tower for the, and it's interesting. But I did find out, and after talking to him for quite a while, that there used to be a landing strip up there. And they used to fly biplanes up there back in the 40s. And the one gentleman who was a very good friend of Neil's, I remember as a kid taking off and landing up there in the top of that field. So maybe at one time it was an airport, maybe before the well tower was there, though. So, but yeah, it's been interesting, and we're still excited. We're moving ahead. So,
Any other questions from the council before we conclude this? It's nice to get an update. Fred, you've been with us a long time, so we, you got your heart in this thing, and
we want to advance Neil's dream, but we also want to make Fred proud.
yeah, there's a lot of sentiment.
There's a lot of people that have done work, but he's still steering the ship. So yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Both of you.
That it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have reports, and we have the library board minutes from August 8th. Any comments on them? Officially received. We have the airport commission minutes from August 10th. Any comments? Officially received. We have the golf commission minutes from September 14th. Any comments? Officially received. Staff comments.
I don't believe we have any, sir.
All right. Then we get to our city council comments. Edie, Dan, or Dave? Edie?
No.
Mr. Dan? David? Quiet council tonight. Pro Tem?
Just congratulations on the Oktoberfest committee and celebration this past weekend. I was only able to get down there for a little bit, but good time, and nice to see that continuing.
Michael?
Nothing here.
Add an addendum to the Oktoberfest. It's good to see that leadership moving things forward in our town. I was there both nights, and I thought there was excitement and just a well done, well planned, well executed. It helps celebrate the goodness of Waverly, anchors us in our past, gives us hope moving forward. I was just very enthusiastic about this effort, and need to applaud that 4-person team of young people who are absolutely taking us and moving us up the ladder as a town. So thank you to them as well from me. Motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn?
Second, please.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify with yes.
Yes.
Adjourned.